Hello everyone, welcome to Miss and Bean. Today's video is part of an Irish Wolfhound grooming series where we will go over some basic grooming of an Irish Wolfhound. In part 1, we will be discussing brushing. Now, I'm not a professional groomer, but these are some techniques that I've learned over the years of owning a Wolfhound. Here are just some of the supplies that I've used in maintaining my Wolfhound's coats. The main brush I use now is the yellow rake, which is a dematting rake. A popular brand that I have seen used for show Wolfhounds is called a Mars Coat King. Mine is just an off-brand one that I've gotten off of Chewy. The top two brushes are what I recommend to use for Wolfhounds. It is a simple pin brush and a comb. The pin brush is a number 1 all systems pin brush. Unfortunately, it is kind of pricey. So I've used cheaper pin brushes and they just wear out too fast. I've had this pin brush for about 2 years, maybe a little more, without any issues. The comb is a 10-inch Blackworks comb that I've also had for 2 years without issues. Here we have Artemis. I always start with the pin brush, so brushing her entire body, starting from the nose to tail. I do have her on a makeshift grooming table just to save my back. You do not need a grooming table. So when brushing her front legs, I like to hold her legs up so she doesn't move and so that I can brush her armpit area. If you don't brush the armpits, you can get matting there. I move down her body and I like to go over her neck and back quite a few times because this is where her coat is the thickest. I tend to get a lot of dead hair out in this area. Also, ensure to completely brush the tail, including the underside. I have seen matting in this area, particularly at the underside of the base of her tail. Make sure when brushing in between the rear legs to brush completely up to the belly. This is the third area where I have seen matting if you don't do a good enough job brushing. You can see on the brush here we have a lot of dead hair, including guard hairs and undercoat. It might be hard to see, but a lot of hair isn't collected by the comb and is flying away on this windy day. I then move on to the comb. I use the comb on her body and usually not on her legs or her tail. I try to pay more attention on her neck and back. Again, some dead hair here in the comb. Artemis isn't shedding too much right now. She was just brushed a couple days ago. Do expect the shedding to fluctuate though based on the season. So sometimes she's going to shed a lot more than this, sometimes she barely sheds at all. Next up is Bean. I repeat the same process using a pin brush, then moving on to the comb. You can see when I brush her front legs, I keep one held up while I brush both legs and armpits. Bean has a thicker coat and is shedding more today, so I have had to clean out the pin brush in the middle of brushing. We then move on to the comb. Now, since Bean has a thicker coat, I do use the dematting rake on her. I do not recommend using this on your wolfhound if you plan on showing them. I would seek guidance from a groomer before using it. This rake will cut the guard hair of your wolfhound. Since I don't show Bean, I like to use this rake to thin out her coat in areas where it is thick. It just makes it easier for me to maintain it. You should use short, quick strokes. I don't use this on her all the time, maybe once every 2 months or so. I added this second clip of using the rake to show you in real time how I use it on her. If you look at the hair in the rake, you can see that it is mostly cut guard hair. So again, this is why I would seek guidance from a groomer if you plan on showing your wolfhound. Thank you for watching the video. Part 2 in the grooming series, we'll be discussing basic grooming of teeth and ears.